Oh, all right.
Look at that. Look at the pre-show. The pre-show is me and CJ until Mike gets back from the bathroom.
That is right.
And he doesn't know that when he signs on, he's going to be live. So we got to tell him, you know.
Keep everyone on their toes.
Welcome to the Rice to Ricky Sanchez pre-show. Pod is coming soon. I'm going to tell my story about going to urgent care tonight. Spent almost 2 hours at urgent care. Love that. Love that. Successful urgent care trip. Want to thank that doctor. But I don't want to talk about what it is.
It's not a very popular term, I imagine, in this country.
What?
A successful urgent care trip.
Urgent care trip? Tell
there
him.
He is.
You're on. You're on. We're live. We're live. We're live. I just wanted you to know we're live. I didn't want you to say anything embarrassing.
Oh, imagine saying anything embarrassing.
Yeah.
On the
so
podcast.
I told obviously this is the pre-show.
Yeah, it doesn't count.
But this doesn't count. I told CJ I am going to tell my urgent care story as a public service on the pod. Because I was at urgent care for much of I was watching the game for much of the game, but like end of the second, beginning of the third, I was actually with the doctor, so I couldn't tell. So I'm going to tell that on the pod as a public service.
All right, then I'll save my questions.
Yeah. So give it another 20 seconds or so, even though this has been a long enough. Oh, Lee is in oh, Jesus Christ. Lee is in the YouTube comments.
He's everywhere.
Fuck, man.
You can't keep him out.
I tell him he can't sponsor the Bark in the Park team one time, and all of a sudden he's in the YouTube comments. What are we going to do with this fucking guy? All right, here we go. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook using promo code RTRS and brought to you by Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Get yours at bigbarker.com/Ricky. Adam Ksebe, the official realtor of the process. LL Pavorsky Jewelers, where Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners go and get engaged in stateside Urban Craft Vodka, the official sponsor of the Corner 3 newsletter with Zoe. Get it at statesidevodka.com. On the show today, boy, they almost fucking blow the Pistons game. Of course, that was a very Sixers game. Joel Embiid says that he couldn't walk for 2 days after the Pelicans game. And a very special Ricky, as Adam and Dave from the War on Drugs join us to talk about life, liberty, and their new album, I Don't Live Here Anymore, which is out, if you're listening live, it is out at midnight tonight on all streaming platforms. If you're listening recorded, it's out already. And this very big indie band that everybody loves, on the evening that their album comes out, is spending it on a live podcast, a Sixers podcast. So I'm sure their management and label were thrilled for this appearance, as it makes a ton of sense. Before we get going, you have 1 day left, or Friday is the last day to order the Ricky reprint shirts. We have sold a lot of them. 6 classic shirts that we are reprinting. It is for pre-sale. It is only available through Friday. Go to rightsrickysanchez.com. And I mentioned stateside. Big news. Black Label Bourbon is back. It's small batch. They do it one time every year. I have not had this year's Black Label Bourbon. I don't know if it tastes different than last year's, but last year's was awesome. StatesideVodka.com. Of course, you can get the vodka, which I'm enjoying tonight, and the vodka sodas as well. StatesideVodka.com. You got to be 21 to enjoy it. Without any further ado, the War on Drugs.
Lying in my bed, a creature void of form, been so afraid of everything, I need a chance to be reborn.
Welcome to the Rice to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy whose bowels are completely emptied for the beginning of this podcast. That is one, Mike Levin.
That's a dangerous prediction you're making. Hello, here we are.
Hi,
doing another one. The Sixers, what a team!
I
just before we get into anything, a lot of stuff to get to.
Yeah,
just like so. the Knicks game, Sixers-Knicks, was on my birthday.
Yeah.
And I didn't watch it. I watched a little bit of it on like the highlights. Because people were texting me being like, oh, quite a birthday present, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And to not watch a Sixers game for like 4 days, even though we're like just starting the season, was a real nice treat. And because of how middling they are as a team right now, and also, frustratingly chaotic in all those ways. I'm just like, I can feel myself. Obviously, people are doing it about the Eagles. Sixers in a very different situation, but the sort of net is the same right now, where I'm just like, I'm just watching, looking out at the universe, watching multiple planets explode or something, and being like, I've seen this before.
I don't know that anyone on the team is doing this, but it is so hard to not imagine that somebody like Embiid or whoever on the team is not thinking to themselves, how are we supposed to do this without the trade happening? Like that everybody, because that's what it feels like as like watching it, that we're just sort of like in this holding pattern, knowing that this is not what it is, and this is like fine, whatever. But it just like every time I turn it on, I'm just like, oh, they're playing again. They're not bad and they're not good. They're just sort of there and just waiting around.
Yeah. Somebody asked, I think it was one of the Athletic guys, either Rich or Derek, about like, what is there to take out of this season prior to whatever trade ends up happening, or even somehow Ben deciding to join the team and actually play in games. And I think there's definitely things to take out of it. There's still joy to find in it. I really enjoyed Joel getting viscerally angry at Luka Garza for seemingly no real reason. It's fine. I have no issue with just a very visceral beef on court. I think that's generally good. And there's Maxey. There's the occasional spurt of b-ball Paul minutes, which is never too much, like never enough. There's some guys you like. It's always fun to watch like Seth go nuclear. There's fun things to see, and I'm not like totally disattached.
Yeah, but just like overall, it's
like, I don't know. We're the Pacers. Like right now, we're the Pacers. Like I think with the team as is, if a trade never happens this year, and if Ben never plays, and maybe even if he does, who knows? I think this team is, because of how much better the East got. I think, especially the middle and the lower middle. I think. Right now I would say the Sixers are like a 6 or a 7 seed.
Yep.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they made the play-in tournament and were forced to do that. And it's like, and maybe Daryl's like, yeah, I know. Like, I know
that's why I'm waiting. Yeah.
That's why I'm waiting. Yeah. So I don't know, but it's just, we can talk about the game. There's stuff I like, obviously. I get excited about guys' individual developments and plays and all that stuff.
Yep.
But like, man, just every once in a while, a wave hits me where I go like, we're going to fucking waste Joel Embiid. We're going to waste him. Just like one of the best players in franchise history. Obviously not without his flaws and faults and stuff, but that would suck. Well, like we're basically in right now. It's like very similar to that 0-1 team. Not that they're very different teams, but like building around Embiid, building around Iverson, flawed guys, defense first, not enough of this, not enough of that. It's just like, I don't want it to happen. I think there's ways around it, and a lot can change over the course of a season or in 3 or 4 seasons left of Joel's prime, whatever it ends up being. But with his injuries, knee acting up, all that stuff, it's just like, I don't. It's tough. It's tough.
I actually said something before I do. Now that the podcast has started, because I know a lot of people skip past it. War on Drugs. Adam and Dave will be here later. Their album, I Don't Live Here Anymore, comes out at midnight. Again, if you're listening live, if you're listening recorded, it's out. Go listen to it. Order the vinyl on their website. We thank them for being a part of this in advance. It's really amazing the night that the record coming out is that they're on the pod. I think Amos actually came on the pod the day his album came out 2 albums ago too. So feel honored that they're doing that. So thank you guys. So that'll be later. I was on with WIP with Joe and John the day of the first game. And to the point of what you just said, I said to them, I've never felt like it's less likely that the Sixers are going to win a championship in this whole era than I do right now.
Basically after Ben's first season.
Yeah, well, just like since the beginning of this, like if I call it the process era, the Ricky, like since we've been doing this since
well, you didn't
the
think that
trade.
10 and 72 Sixers were going
to No. I didn't mean this. I didn't mean this team. I mean like
the contending type deal.
I meant the era. That the era is not going to end in a championship.
Always, I understand.
Yeah. Always, I thought it was more unlikely than likely. We've been on different sides of that, but always, I thought it was possible. Like I've never been more down on the possibility than right now. Mm-hmm. And taking it, I don't think there's nothing wrong with not winning a championship. There's plenty of good teams but like getting from point A to point B is a tough ride. You know,
it's tough. It's tough for me because it goes like, because I'm partially with you on that. It's interesting that I can feel that and also be like, I think if this team had Kelly Olynyk for the last 3 years, there's a chance that we won like 3 championships in a row. Like I think there's a real chance. Like the fact that I can hold both of those opinions at once is maybe contradictory. I don't even think Kelly Olynyk's like that good of a player. I think he's totally fine. And they would still be weak in other areas. Obviously, wouldn't solve all of their problems. But the fact that we were so close in so many ways and just like one big, massive black hole in one spot or another, like not being able to cover up both spots at once caused them to get to this point. So that's frustrating. Just watching him being like, fuck, Kelly Olynyk that would have done it. Like it's tough. And I'm not even depressed about it, and I'm definitely not at this point like angry about it, but it's just sort of like it's just like, yeah, man, this would be a bummer if this continues to go as it seems like it will go.
The Apple Podcast 5-star review of the pod. I have to, if I'm gonna do it, I gotta do it. We are at 2,939. When we get to 3,000, I'll read all the reviews. It comes from Slam Dunker. Fun pod. Slam Dunker says, solid and entertaining analysis, but mostly listen for the great bathroom talk toward the end of the ep. You know, when we hear about our producers' wiping habits, things like that. Do you want to talk about the game? Do you want to talk about why I was at urgent care? Do you want to talk about something?
Let's do the game first.
Okay.
As much as I'm sure people are very excited about the urgent care story. Let's do 3 games at once because just like ripping through it. Like the OKC game, Seth is just very hot, and it's very cool to see him like that. Embiid should not be playing. Seth had 6 threes in the first quarter. It's just like when I acknowledge that rules, and that's very cool.
All right. The Embiid should not be playing thing.
Embiid should not be playing.
But can I just wedge in there?
Wedge.
I just want to wedge in there, buddy. Love you, Joe. And I said this on the last pod: either play or don't play. Yeah. But what I don't need is for you to play. Not play, and then like whisper to Ramona Shelbourne that, oh, by the way, you couldn't walk for 2 days.
Not necessarily. I do think he looked better in this game. He definitely seemed to look more spry and mobile and all that stuff.
He looked great in this game, I thought.
Yeah, but yeah, him playing in the OKC game, and then it getting, it always gets a little, closer than it has to every game. Like how many times, when's the last time? I mean, not that this matters, like this game doesn't matter and the Oklahoma City game doesn't matter, but like, it'd be nice if like the Sixers have enough good players where they could just close guys out and not have to bring Joel back on the court. Yeah. Anyway, I thought there were a couple nice things about it. B-Ball Paul getting some run, some Niang at the 5 run.
I thought
Tobias had 9 assists in the next game. Like it's just, we're just plodding through the season. We're just like we're
saying things.
We're saying things. Matisse hit a step back 3 in the OKC game. I wanted to acknowledge that. That felt good. Korkmaz's getting ball pressured by Dort. Look, I took the notes. I'm going to say the notes. I'm not going to.
Well, can I throw? I want to throw a note in.
Throw a note.
Shake Milton's first game tonight. I thought Shake's shot looked better than it has in like easily a year. Not just because it went in, but he shot it comfortably. And he hinted at it in preseason, but I thought he hinted at it before the season when Doc said that like he was going to make certain starting assignments based on who they were playing. I think Shake Milton's going to start the next game, and I don't think it's a bad idea. That's not a condemnation of Tyrese Maxey. It's just like if neither guy is going to really be able to run the offense, having a guy that can like effectively spot up and not really think about it is probably better with Embiid, and having Maxey in the second unit just sort of like trying to do instant offense thing is probably better. So, I thought Shake looked real good tonight.
Yeah, I thought Shake looked fine. I think he definitely helps. He adds ball handling and some creation and a good amount of spot up shooting, and that is important. I think both Shake and Korkmaz are both guys that can handle a little bit and create a little bit, but they're both just like really slow and can be susceptible to being ball pressured. Like you saw that in the OKC game. Dort just was like all over Korkmaz, and it's just like, and that happened a couple. Corey Joseph was giving them a little trouble. Just like Maxey, even though he is young and makes mistakes and all that stuff, and is for some reason standing in the dunker spot sometimes, which I blame on Doc. His just like speed with the ball really helps this team, like at all points in the game, especially when like the other team is trying to come back from a deficit and pressing up a little bit more. I've said this a bunch of times. A lot of people are saying it. The Maxey catch and shoot hesitancy has become like the sort of thing to. I don't think it's, now that everyone's saying it, I'll sort of lean in the other direction a little bit, in that I don't think it's that bad because they're still closing out on him. And so as long as the defense is closing out and then Maxey can create off the dribble and put the defense in rotation, that's still an advantage. Because
he did it tonight and got a Seth open three out of it. And I'd rather Seth shoot it than Maxey.
For sure. I think the issue is not we must have so many possessions end in a Maxey three. The issue is they need to account, the defense should be worried that he's going to shoot there, so they're coming out, as opposed to Ben where they were just like letting it happen. And also it shouldn't result in Maxey just doing like settling for 18 footers instead. If he's going to the rim, if he's driving and kicking to a better shooter, if he's getting fouled, whatever it is, that's fine. I also love, there's a lot of it tonight. This is probably his best game this season. He turns the corner and extends the right arm and gets to the rim like that. That's nice. And he's really the only guy that can do that on the team. Korkmaz and Shake do it both in pick and roll, but obviously that requires a lot of help and is very slow. Maxey hit a bunch of shots tonight. Hit that corner three off that gorgeous behind the back pass from Embiid. I don't know. You might have been an urgent care at that point, but it was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
And I thought Maxey passed really well tonight. So it was a good game. I don't care about who starts. If it is Maxey at first and then Shake fills in over the course of the game, and then it's Maxey back at the end when they need some more dribble creation, I think that's fine. I've always been a big Shake guy. He's had a tough, last like season and a half, but I still believe in him being a useful player. But I see the value in Maxey being like, especially when you watch the second unit, it just becomes a little bit of like everyone standing around making like these are all useful players. Like I think the Sixers legitimately are like 11 to 12 deep, but they just, because they don't have enough like quick beat your man off the dribble ball creation, it is harder for those other useful players to be useful because they're being required to do stuff that they're not as comfortable with. Even the secondary creators, like which I believe in, is you need the initial creator first. Though.
Yeah, and they have 11 or 12 playable guys, but it doesn't. Yeah, I agree with you. The Rice to Ricky Sanchez is brought to you by Big Barker Dog Beds. Love Big Barker. Rebel loves Big Barker. Big Barker is the only real dog bed on the market. I saw them out at Bark in the Park. They had a whole setup. People were taking their dogs over and taking pictures on the Big Barker. You can get your dog a Big Barker, be a real dog owner, and go to bigbarker.com/Ricky. You go to bigbarker.com/Ricky, you get the Big Barker dog bed and 2 processed pup patches. And if you send us a photo, we'll put them in the gallery. This has been all this stuff about Big Barker that we say about, their joints and preventing arthritis and giving your dog a better life. It's all been proven. Penn Vet did a study, saw a reduction in joint stiffness, improvement in gait, reduction in pain severity, all those things a 40 dog study over a month, and it showed a difference, especially if your dog is bigger, because 80% of dogs over 50 pounds develop arthritis as they age. But big barker, not just for big dogs. Rebel's only 40 pounds. They have the Barker Jr. Rebel sleeps on a large big barker. They have with the headrest, without the headrest. It's legit. Just look at the pictures. Trust me. 10-year warranty. The foam doesn't flatten or they replace it for free. 1 year at-home trial. If you don't like it, they will give you a full refund and pay for the shipping. Handmade in the USA. Big Barker dog beds. Who else you got on your list?
I thought it was a nice Matisse game. His hands are everywhere tonight. They're just deflecting the shit out of everything. A couple times they just passed it right to him, which I thought was pretty nice. He did pick off one pass, drove the length of the court, and then drew the defense and had a nice wraparound pass to Shake for the open three. I thought that was nice. But as a team, it feels like, and maybe this is just like the chaos of an early season stuff, but it feels like they don't have good hands as a team. It feels like the balls are always like bouncing off their hands or face or whatever, and just like generally like can't like gather. It seems like there's a lot of that kind of situation.
That kind of hands, because I thought Ferk has been particularly handsy in terms of deflections and stuff.
Yes.
You mean in
definitely
terms of like,
catching and receiving like in traffic and those kinds of things. I thought it was a nice Matisse game, and I've always seen some knack in Matisse for passing, because I feel like passing and reading the offense on the defensive end is a similar skill. And so you can see him like trying to have some of that. There's a vision there, but because he is not confident, but I think growing in confidence as a ball handler and certainly lacking as a shooter, it's harder for him. But I think if those things ever come along, then the passing will allow his game to elevate beyond just 3-and-D guy in a way that like Danny, I don't think has those instincts necessarily. Danny's obviously a much better shooter and a much more controlled offensive player. But if Matisse ever can put more of an offensive game together, I thought there was an interesting article that I think Gina Maisel wrote it in the Inquirer, where Matisse was like, Embiid's giving me more confidence to like do more offensively. I feel like I've been a little hesitant and in my head, because like in Australia in the national team, like he looked good. Like there was him doing some stuff.
He looks pretty clueless still on offense though. I mean, like I'm a little worried about him. And nobody played well in the Knicks game, but even defensively in the Knicks game, like everybody talks about how good he is on ball. I don't know. It seemed like both Kemba Walker and Derrick Rose were like, one screen and I got rid of you. You know, like
that's almost everybody though. Anybody can pretty much get worked by a good enough screen, especially if they can shoot.
I just feel like he's like a gadget player at this point until he can either consistently make threes or put the ball on the floor. One of the two things. He just feels like a 12-minute a game player to me on a real team.
I disagree. I agree a little bit. I think his reputation for being one of the best defensive players in the league, because he makes some things happen. Like you live with some of the half-court decision-making defensively, because he can just create plays out of nothing defensively, whether that's in transition or just off a rebound or just stopping a play in its tracks. I think he is special in that way. And so because of how good he is at those and because of how good the steals and blocks numbers look, there is some of that that I think defensively he's just going to get better and learn how to like go through and all that stuff. But I think he's better than just a gadget player. I hear the idea. I think that sometimes you can't live with him out there because of offensively he does look a little bit in his head. But I believe in the finished product, and he's just not quite there yet. But I think he'll get there. I think he'll be a positive. I think he will get on the Anunoby path. It might not. It might not take. Maybe crazy. Not now. Not like the Anunoby that's right now, but like Anunoby of last year. I think he can get there. I think he can get like I can attack, close out, I can finish. He's athletic. He's probably the most athletic player on the team right now. The handle is improving. The passing is there. The shot. He's like toying with a little bit of a floater. There's like a long way to go for sure, but I think that he can get to be what Anunoby was like the past couple seasons, even though Anunoby, I think, is taking the leap this year. Yeah, I do.
Aren't they like the same age? How old is Anunoby?
Oh yeah, I don't know how old Anunoby is, but Matisse, his offensive development is way behind. But I don't think it's. I think it's easier to CJ's telling us OG is 24, so Matisse is about the same age. I don't think
Matisse is older. I think Matisse is 25. Yeah,
I don't think that when you want to be when those kind of players turn into like Kawhi takes the leap type guys, that has to happen earlier. But like I don't think the development curve from like, okay, your offense is improving, just like stops at 25 or 26 or whatever. I think to be a fine playable player, to get from like pretty bad to like decent, and which is all Matisse needs to get to, is not that. Not like, oh, he's too old to become playable. I think like, friggin' Royce O'Neal, like guys like he could become fine. He could become absolutely fine.
I think you triggered because Anunoby to me, you mentioned Kawhi, like Anunoby to me looks like fucking awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I've always loved the possibility. I don't think Matisse has his upside on offense by any means, but I think he could become fine, which is like a catch and shoot guy, a like take a smaller guard into the post and like one move, like dunk over him kind of thing. Like simple stuff, attack a closeout, make a smart pass, like those kinds of things. I think he can get there. And with the defense as it is and improving and stuff, then I think he's like long term, I think he's absolutely going to be a starter in this league. I think if Danny wasn't here or was hurt or whatever, Matisse would be doing that right now. And there's weaknesses to that for sure. He's growing pains, but yeah, I mean, the team has a lot of one-way players. And that's why like Shea coming back tonight and just being like, even just long on defense helps because he can do more than one thing on the court.
Yeah. Alonzo mentioned in the newsletter today, he was just like trade Tobias. Alonzo's like Q rating on Twitter is very high. Alonzo's not particularly controversial. In the mailbag, subscribe, right? RickySanchez.com/newsletter. In the newsletter, Tobias had a good game against
the Knicks. But no foul shots again. He
is the same fucking guy. He's no different. He's a ball stopper. He just like, somebody, I think whether they emailed us or tweeted us, said like all this time, they've been talking about trading one guy, but maybe Daryl really wanted to trade Morey. And I think Daryl would trade Morey in a second if there was a real trade there. Tobias. Yeah. Daryl would trade Tobias in a second. He's definitely the same guy though. Like he's definitely.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think Tobias's defense is actually taking a step back without Ben there. I think he's like not having trouble staying in front of guys. Whereas like now he's having to cover like a tougher assignment every night. And I think it's you can see the difference when he's having to do more. But yeah, I mean, we say it all the time, but I think Tobias is best as the third offensive option on a team. If you put Damian Lillard on this team, Tobias would be totally fine in this role. But right now he's still being treated like he's the second, sometimes first option if they're just doubling Embiid every time, getting the ball out of his hands. And I mean, I would much rather have Maxey with the ball in his hands than Tobias. I don't mind Tobias exploiting a mismatch in the post. I don't mind Tobias like in transition, head down, and I don't mind him when he's occasionally taking quick threes off the catch. But I mean, credit where it's due. He did have some nice creation in that Knicks game, which he hadn't for most of his time here. But
did you see the video that someone tweeted at us of Tobias calling Embiid for the pick and roll, and Embiid just looks at him and walks to the other side of the court? It was so good.
I mean, I think Embiid's like, he obviously looked super slow in those couple games, looked better against Detroit, but I think he seems like kind of exhausted from everything, like having to do everything on D, probably having, another knee thing and looking around and being like, we're going to lose games if I'm not playing, and putting it on himself to get in there. It's obviously like the Sixers won, and then if he played 38 minutes, they would have won by a lot. So obviously we don't want him to do that against friggin' Detroit, but like when he has to cover Luka Garza or Kelly Olynyk and they're like confident guys stepping out, like, oh, it's hard to guard against. Like it's hard. You want Embiid covering a guard on the perimeter, to me, is he's smart enough and moves his body well enough to be tough on that. But against a legitimate stretch five like those guys, that you're taking him out of the paint like every possession. And there was one time when he helped off Olynyk to do like a sort of just, I mean, Saddiq Bey had Niang in the post, and I was like, I don't know why Embiid's doubling, but he was helping a little bit, and he slapped down. And as he went to slap down, Olynyk cut and got an open layup out of it. And it's just like, it's too much space for him to have to cover that person out there. And there is like really benefit to an actual stretch five when one of the players is out there. Sometimes for the Sixers, it's multiple players are just like not a threat to shoot from that far away. And yeah, I mean, I've been singing this song for a long time. Can't believe how long we haven't had one.
Adam and Dave join us shortly from the War on Drugs. Before they do, Adam Ksebe is the official realtor of the process. Market has settled down a little bit. Still a great time to buy, especially in Delaware. That's where Adam Ksebe specializes. Also Maryland. Delaware, very, very low property taxes. Where I live in New Jersey, very, very high property taxes. Though Adam Ksebe did help me find a realtor, even though he can't sell me a house in New Jersey. Look, Delaware beaches, Maryland, you got to go to Adam Ksebe, Ksebe. Any other place, you also got to go to Ksebe because he'll basically scout out a realtor for you. If you want to refinance, also a good time to do that because interest rates are super low. Adam Ksebe. The market has settled down a little bit. It is a great time to buy because of the interest rates, but you need someone, because it's sort of crazy out there, to lead you through the process. It is hard. I've now purchased a home twice, sold a home once. It's fucking crazy. Mike bought a home. It's fucking wild out there. You need someone you can trust. Adam Ksebe, Ksebe. Again, if you need to refinance, if you need to buy, if you need to sell, Adam Ksebe. And if you're going to buy a shore house, don't buy in Jersey. High property taxes, big crowds. No. Delaware beaches, something for everybody. There is, now I'm even forgetting all the towns in Delaware. There's Lewis, which I love. There is
Bethany.
Rehoboth, Bethany, Dewey, all those. Anyway, if you need a realtor, Adam Ksebe, go to processrealtor.com. Email him, adam@processrealtor.com, 302-864-8643, 302-864-8643. That's his cell, so you can call him or text him there. Adam Ksebe, Ksebe, official realtor of the process. We are very excited as do we think that this is a Michael Bivens situation?
Could be Bivens. We could be getting Bivens.
Adam and Dave Hartley. Is there another Sixers thing that you have?
Oh, always.
Okay.
I mean, I just think like it's nice for Doc to be tinkering with lineups now. I mean, Andre Drummond was in foul trouble, eventually fouled out, which is funny and a nice homage to Dwight. But like really hard to do the stretch five, to do like small ball five stuff when it's Tobias and Niang as your like rim protectors. Obviously Matisse will be out there for those lineups, but like would have been nice to try it with Ben last year. They did it like maybe 4 times all season. It didn't look great, obviously, but you gotta play through that shit. And for him to do it now without Ben is like, okay, man, yeah, point made, way to go. And
people hate Doc now, man. The Doc,
they definitely hate Doc. It's easy to hate Doc because
there's easy to hate the coach.
It's always easy to hate the coach, but I don't think he's a good coach. I think he's fine, and I think players generally like playing for him. But he's certainly not adding to it. And it seems like he's made, as a player, they always tell you like don't make the same mistake twice, and it feels like Doc's made the same mistake dozens of times. And so that's frustrating. Yeah, I mean, this is like the last 4 games at the Wells Fargo Center, they gave up a big lead. 4 in a row.
Maybe it's their thing. Maybe that's their calling card.
It's not great. The Wendy's Frosty stuff is still a delight, but when like that's the only thing that fans get excited about late in games because they know we're blowing this lead and Joe's gonna have to come back out on the fucking court, really aggravating. There's good players on this team. There's many rotation players on this team, but they're still just missing like the big stuff. And that's why partially one of the reasons why trading Ben for role players is like, what does it do? We got role players. We got plenty of them.
Adam is here. Adam from War on Drugs is here. Put him in. Dave's there too.
I was just texting Dave.
Look, he's wearing a Sixers hat. There's Dave. He's wearing a Sixers hat too. Look at this. What's going on?
Happening.
The War on Drugs. What's up, guys? How you doing? How you feeling on album release night?
Who won the game?
Feeling great.
Arguably the Sixers did.
Who played the game and who won it?
The Sixers. So Adam, I have to ask because this is Dave's like fault. You have this album coming out. By the way, the album I Don't Live Here Anymore. I'm not just saying it because we finally got it. Your manager sent it to us yesterday. We got to listen to it. It is really fucking good and really, really good. And I know you guys hear that you're good all the time, but the album is really, really, really good. I have to know, because this is Dave's fault, as the album comes out at midnight, and here you are on a basketball podcast as maybe your crowning achievement, this album. How does that feel to you? I guess is that this is the place.
Honestly, I couldn't have asked for a better way to close out the night. No, this is, basketball podcast. Yeah, this is where we thrive. Every day in the van is basically is some sort of podcast.
Yeah.
So, no, this is, he's been telling me about this podcast for at least a year.
Yeah, Dave has made an appearance. Yeah, Dave's appearance.
And no, this is awesome. I had what was a title for your episode? Could be
Here we go.
What is it? What was it? I don't talk to him anymore.
That'd be good. I don't play here anymore. Also would have worked.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Hartley, how are you, friend? You doing good?
Doing great. Doing awesome. Happy to be here. The last time I was on this podcast, I was like a new listener. And now I'm just like so entrenched in your fucking podcast world that it's like a whole different vibe for me this time. I feel way more honored now because I've been listening like a lot for the past few years. Yeah, so very happy to, celebrate the release of our record by being on a completely unrelated podcast.
Great. Well, I am, as people who have listened to this podcast during the meat of the pandemic, when we were just having fucking whoever on, really. I'm not a music guy, I will say. Okay. But the bands that I really like, and you guys are definitely one of my favorite bands. Me and Spike don't agree on a lot of music takes, I would say, but this is one of the few deep overlaps. So I feel very excited that I got to hear the album first. I feel like I'm a music writer now. I feel like I'm on the inside. I'm an elitist. I'm loving it. I'm loving the feeling of holding this power over people. I'm
loving Spike's Telecaster. That looks nice.
Yeah, that is that's some two brothers in like I think Portugal or something that make them.
Oh wow, cool.
Yeah, and I got to tell them the color that I wanted, and
it looks sweet.
Kind of stuff. Yeah. Mike, you were saying. Sorry.
Oh yeah. How do you want your music to feel to people? Do you have that? Do you I know what everyone's going to have like an intent for what you're trying to say, but how do you want people to feel when they listen to your music? And before you answer, I'll say that I'm a TV writer, and my parents, anytime they watch any show that I write for, they will say that it's cute. Everything is cute. And I'm like, it's a little more serious than that. I wish cute wasn't the only word that was being used, but they mean it in like a positive way. But that's
probably the equivalent of like my parents like, oh, it's got a good beat. Oh, it's got a good beat. Like every song, like, oh, good beat. You know what I mean? It's like, what about the modulation?
Yeah. What about all the other things?
Yeah. TV writer. That's cool.
It's all right. It's cute.
It's cute. What I want it to feel like. I mean, I don't know. I feel like we
like Ben Simmons.
we kind of. I guess we want it to feel like some stuff that we like.
Mhm.
You know. What was that, Dave?
Want it to feel like that one time Ben Simmons hit that three, just in rhythm.
Yeah.
From like
Yeah.
2 feet behind the arc. That one time, the crowd went fucking nuts.
Yes, against the Guangdong Long Lions. I
Yeah.
remember.
Not even.
Yeah, when like Andy Sipowicz is in hot pursuit of somebody, you know what I mean? And like, and then maybe he also like
NYPD
has.
Blue. In the
Then he
house.
has that like. Then he has that thing with the other cop, and they're kind of in love, but not really. She's the lawyer, and that's the tension is kind of what we want.
Yes. All right, I feel
And just the excitement of whether or not it's gonna, whether or not that love's gonna persist, or if if his son's gonna get in the middle of it,
Well, okay, so here's something, right? So the way that we keep talking about the album coming out at midnight, album. I'm 45, so I'm an album guy. I fucking love albums. Like, I remember Monday night sales for albums, like midnight. The album would come out at midnight. Like, you would buy it at midnight, and we're talking about the album coming out at midnight. But fans of your band at this point have heard 3 of the songs already, which is 30% of the album. And I was thinking of another band that I like Gang of Youths. They keep putting out songs without putting the album out. And I feel like when the album finally comes out, I'm going to be like, well, fuck, I already heard all this. So I would imagine that you think about the construction of the album, and it is a work is important to you. How is that set against the context of the way that music is now, that you sort of have to go song by song by song by song until the album comes up?
Yeah, we definitely spend a lot of time sequencing it. Like even on this record, the first song, "Living Proof," which is the first song we released, it's kind of a slower, kind of quieter thing, and I had basically not a breakdown, but at the last minute, I was like, it can't be first. I was telling Dave, because it's a difficult one to set your volume on,
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're driving, it can be hard. So we kind of moved some songs around, but it was obvious that was supposed to be the first song on the record. And yeah, I mean, I think the record's sequenced in a way, and we've always liked to get into that part of it. It starts to make sense the last few months of working on it. We're like, oh, this is going to be the last song, or these 3 songs live together. So I think for our band, if you kind of just grab songs out of that sequence and release them, it could be maybe, I think the context on where it sits on a record is sometimes how you hear it in relationship to the whole thing, or after a certain song. For our kind of stuff, it helps, I mean, I guess you could take any of them out and just put them on as a single, but we like to think that everything has a space, and that's kind of where you can experience it by itself, but it helps to hear the whole thing.
Dave, do you feel like your fans will contextualize it that way? That somebody who likes War on Drugs may have heard these songs, but is going to go back and listen to the album the way that you meant for it to be in a row, and hear those songs that way? Or do you feel like a lot of that is lost?
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like, not to toot our own horn, but I feel like Lost in the Dream is sort of kind of an album quintessentially. It's really just, more than some of its parts, but kind of back to what Adam was saying, the second track on the record, Harmonious Dream, he had put that number 2 in the sequence, and was already even doing the artwork and everything. And the song wasn't even close to being done. And I remember he was just like, it's number 2. And I was like, this song's not even close to being what is this song? He's like, it's gotta go second. It's all part of this script, we got to have the second scene in the movie. It's got to be that one. I was just like, all right, I trust you. And it came together last second.
Do you think of it I would think of it like a batting order in baseball. I would be like, this song is this make
exactly
song.
It's actually that's exactly what it is.
Really?
Yeah, because
Yep.
Yeah, because I feel Well, yeah, third is like who bats third? Like someone that can like probably just be consistent.
Yeah, driving runs and get on base. Your most well-rounded hitter is probably going to hit third.
Right. I think maybe it's I mean, I feel like our third song is like a little bit. What's the third? Oh, Change the third song.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a standard. It's like a standard pop rocker. You know, and then after that, you have who do you have? You have Ryan Howard.
Your power hitter, yeah. Where does which song is Desi Relaford?
Who's that?
From
the late 90s. Which is your Mickey Morandini song? I want now from whatever era you feel like you're most of a Phillies fan from. I want War on Drugs songs according to those players. I want to line
Dave
up
Holland.
Well, Brad Lidge is obviously Occasional Rain. The closer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Quintessential closer.
Mm-hmm.
What Victorino? Who's Victorino? Which one is that?
Oh yeah, kind of scrappy, maybe Old Skin.
Great.
Yeah.
There you go.
Kind of scrappy,
favorite.
like crowd favorite, scrappy. That guy was awesome.
We haven't even played that song yet. Audience. Yeah, crowd favorite. Just penciling that in.
So
what else do we have? Yeah.
What else do you got? Any other players?
God, this is all going according to plan. Just
Yeah.
forcing the Ricky listeners. This whole thing, like making Atlantic pay you guys to talk about the record and then have us on, and then forcing the listeners to think about this. Probably
right. They
over
will.
half of the listeners don't care at all. And just
No, they will. They will. They will.
No. They care. They care.
You're losing.
David, an interesting fact about the Ricky is that our all-time biggest stretch of listening was pandemic, when there was no basketball.
Really?
Like our all-time, yeah. Like if you take the
shit.
thing as a whole, yeah, we had a lot of fun in there. And what Mike says, music guy Mike, who by the way just made the batting lineup album sequencing thing, music.
I'm a
guy,
savant.
right? It was what he means by that, because I want to like actually because saying he's not a music guy makes it sound like he doesn't like music, but I don't think that's what he means at all. We did like a weekly segment where we would let listeners suggest albums to us, and then we would talk about them. I don't think Mike knows how to talk about music as much, but I think he enjoys the music.
Sure.
Like a normal person. Like normal people just enjoy it, right? Instead of talking about it all the time. So, okay, this may seem like a silly question, but I was thinking about it earlier, because you always think this is mostly in rap music, but I was thinking about it in yours too, because you obviously take great care in what you do, in that your first album is everything you've been thinking about. But then your life changes after you have a successful first album, and that your life is now, and your job is like making albums. Like, even if you still love it, now your life is sort of like a little bit. Does it become harder from like a inspiration standpoint, and like what this is about, when the scope of what you're doing becomes only this? Not that you don't have other things in your life, but like this is now what you've got to do. Does it become harder to get inspired to write things that you care about?
It can, for sure. I mean, that's what they say. They say that first record is like, it takes your whole life, up until that point you've been writing it, and then, it could be 10, 12 years worth of songs, and then you have to make another one. For me and our band, we're all like really interested in the art of like the process of recording ourselves and writing stuff. And we love getting sounds. And I think it's like, if you expect to wake up one day and like pick a guitar up and write something you love, then that's not going to be how you're going to like keep plugging away. I feel like for us, it's like just a constant, just like always working on something, and constantly moving forward. And like, I think inspiration wise, I think you can draw from things that you've, even if you had made one record already and you're in a different place in your life, I think you can still channel those things that inspired you to pick up a guitar 15 years ago, or whatever inspired you to get really deep into home recording, and you can channel those forever, because I think those are pretty, universal things that you don't really necessarily grow out of,
This may sound amateur, but does it become more about what it sounds like and less about what it's about? And so on some level, or did I hear you saying that or no?
I think, well, with our band, I think sonics are a big part of it. I think like the craft of and it's fun. I think we get a lot of joy out of recording and being like, whoa, that sounds wild. Like I love, or that part, or like how those two things work together to make this big sound. I think what it's about is something that is kind of like inherent in like the very first idea you have for that song. Like when you like sit down at a mic and you just kind of like for me at least, like I'll sit at a mic and just like basically freestyle or free associate for 10 or 11 verses on a melody I have, and out of that thing will come some vocals that are gibberish, but also some stuff that I couldn't sit down and write staring at a screen, but like you just free associating and you're like, oh, wow, I can't believe that came out. That's a really cool line, and then you kind of like build songs that way off these things that you're not sitting down like consciously deciding, but these things just come to you. Like if you try to like turn your brain off and just channel whatever melody you're thinking or little song idea you might have. And I think you just kind of have to squeeze as much magic out of those things as you can.
The album is like the fullest sonically, I think, of anything that you've done. Like it just sounds so thick and big. And like I hope you take this the right way, because I mean it the right way. It reminds me of like when I listened to Hysteria as somebody who liked Def Leppard, and I was like, oh, what?
We talk about that record.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We had many Hysteria conversations.
Well,
yeah, very recently. Yeah.
Well, because when you listen to that record, and even to the Black Album to a certain extent too, you're like, oh, this band is good, but they're doing like they're doing a bigger thing. They took what they did and they said, we want to do it awesome this time. Like we want to do it as good as we can do it. And that, like the Hysteria thing, that album is so much thicker sonically than anything they ever did. There's so much more instrumentation, and I don't mean production in a bad way. I mean production in a good way. It just sounds so huge, and that's what it reminded me of. That was like the step that this album reminded me of with you guys.
Yeah,
and also that record, they kind of made that record and then decided they hadn't gone far enough, and then like kept working on it for another like fucking 18 months, which is sort of similar to what happened to this record, although this was more pandemic influenced.
Oh, interesting. So I genuinely like, I love the album. I'm not like a guy like on the radio that just like has you on for like 4 seconds and goes like, love the album, whatever. I love the album and I have no idea how to talk about music. So I'm just like here asking like dumb comedy writer questions. But like, Adam, you have a Philadelphia accent. It doesn't come off in the music. Would you ever consider singing in like a full Philly accent, like on one song?
Oh my God. Well, I would be surprised if I don't have some like hybrid Philly Boston thing. Mm-hmm. But I think, to be fair, if we were, maybe Robbie would sing that song. If there was a song Robbie's for Robbie to sing. Because Robbie, born and raised.
Got it.
Born and raised.
Well, isn't Robbie? I think Robbie's from Springfield. I think he's from Delaware County. He's from Springfield, where I live. Yeah.
Oh, you live in Springfield? Okay.
I did. I now live in Springfield, New Jersey, and I lived in Springfield. And by the way, Cinderella, Tom Kiefer, also from Springfield. So a lot of history in that town right there. A lot of rock and roll history between
Robbie's in Jersey. Robbie's in Jersey too.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Look at that. Yeah.
What is, another dumb question, what is the music equivalent of someone telling me that I don't actually even own a TV?
oh yeah. Let's think of that. That's a good one.
Isn't it? I'm not a music guy.
It might be. I like music.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I just don't know how to
Oh, I
talk
listen
about
to
it.
everything.
I'm asking
I
these
listen
bad
to
questions.
everything.
Oh, and
Yeah, I
I
listen
listen
to
to
everything.
everything,
Yeah, there
guys?
you go.
Okay, sure.
There you go. That's a good
Listen
one.
to nothing.
Adam, the listeners need to know what snacks you're eating because it's
I'm
just
usually the
grapes.
snacks on the podcast guy.
yeah.
Grapes.
Great.
Grapes.
Okay. Okay. So that's
Interesting
why we're
choice.
not hearing a crunch, but we are hearing the bag.
I see.
And
Yeah.
you can continue to eat your snacks. A quick sports question for Dave.
Yes.
Dave. So Dave is a big Sixers fan. Like that is how he became, a listener of the podcast and now friends with us. Dave, at one point was a very big advocate for number 25 on the Sixers, who's currently sitting out. I wonder if he could go back. You were a pretty big advocate, I think. Maybe it was because you wanted to be a believer, but you were a pretty big advocate.
Yeah.
That's all. I'm wondering how you're feeling about that situation because we have not talked about it very much.
I feel like I'm a Simmons realist, kind of maybe somewhere between you guys. Obviously, Spike, you've been like really validated over the past 6 months, maybe to your chagrin a little bit, but God, I don't know, man. Yeah. What is there left to say about that guy that hasn't been said? I'm sure, I think he's maybe the most flawed, great or good, interesting player ever.
The story will be interesting, at some point, especially depending on how it ends.
All time, flawed player. I mean, because there's obviously tons of flawed players, but then they're out of the league really quickly and you don't ever think about them again. But this guy he does a few things incredibly well. I mean, it's like if you had a car that was really fast and I don't know, handled really nicely, but you couldn't go left. You couldn't turn left. It was like everything about the car was incredible. But you can't make a left turn. You have to make a bunch of right turns to go. It's like, it's just, I don't know how I feel about this car.
Yeah.
How much of your music do you think is at least partially based in, or maybe the vibe of the music is based in like anguish from Philadelphia sports? Give me a percent.
Huge amount of it. I mean, huge amount of it. I mean, we played our single greatest show. I'll put it this way. We basically won our Grammy within days of Philly winning the Super Bowl.
Wow.
Right. Didn't we, Dave?
Yeah. Yeah. It was
a day after. It's a couple days before.
No, it was before. Yeah. That was an incredible 5 days or whatever it was. Just felt like anything.
That was a good stretch.
At that point. And then right after that, that was the stretch where Embiid went out because he got hit in the face by Markelle Fultz's shoulder. And then
of course,
Simmons led them on that win streak. And I was like, fuck it. We'll just win the title. Like, this is all just happening. Like anything's possible, Grammy, Super Bowl. Why not? We'll win the title.
Do you think if they gave you guys gave the Grammy back that we'd be better? That was a fatal error.
That's why we blamed out. Maybe.
Do you ever get worried when you're listening to music that you like that you might accidentally steal something?
Not accidentally steal something, more like, for me at least, if I'm like working on an album, I tend to not like listen to a million different things all the time, mainly because I feel like I like to just get in my zone and feel like what I'm doing in the studio with the guys and Sean is something that I'm like committed to and like interested in. And there's so much good music out there, and there's so many people that are amazing at a million different things. And you put something on like a newer kind of thing, and it can just, it can sometimes put you in a place that is not, where you're not at your most creative. So never worry about stealing stuff. I think inspiration is like, you can hear, I can hear something on the way to the studio one day in my car. It could be like a new band and some drum sound, and you're like, oh, I could hear that drum sound in our song, and you go in and work on that for 5 hours, or a single note in a Bowie song, like a guitar effect or anything. Never like stealing something like a riff or something,
Yeah.
But you can definitely latch on to a lot of different things in a song, inspirations and sounds and approach processes and everything.
Do you guys listen to a lot of stuff? Like, do you listen to a lot of new stuff?
I go through
I don't
phases
really.
where sometimes I will, and then I won't. On tour is when I actually probably listen to the most music in general.
Yeah.
Like
Just because of the time you have, or
well, yeah, and also every day, everyone in the band is buying 7 records a day,
Yeah.
and we're listening. So it's like when I'm at home, I don't listen to like 21 records in a row,
Right.
But we do.
We have a little record player that we carry with us in a production case, and you have so many dead hours before you play a show where you're kind of nervous, but you're in a green room. You're just sort of sitting there. You have this like energy, and generally it's just records playing constantly, and everybody's bringing back a haul from a record store that they found.
I'm going to be honest with you. Speaking of records, like right over my shelf over there, I have a bunch of vinyl, and it's the most tedious thing in the world to listen to. I want to like it so bad. And I hope that everyone buys it because it's the one thing, at least in terms of like physical music, that is like getting to artists at this point, like it's a good keepsake to have. But I remember the first time I'm like, I'm going to listen to vinyl again. And I bought the record and I put it. And after 3 songs, I was like, what the fuck's going on with that over there? Oh, I have to go over there now? I have to go over there. I have to flip it over. And maybe it's good because it brings back the active part of listening. But I think I might be too far gone to enjoy having to like flip it after 20 minutes or something,
I can see that. I mean,
Yeah.
If you got like a system you like to listen to music on, and you set up in your room in the spot, and you're like chopping some onions, you know what I mean? You put the first song on, and then like by the time it gets to the 3rd song or 4th song, you're like, you got onions and olive oil all over your hands, and then you got to walk over. There's nothing wrong with like just preferring. Not that it's ever happened to me. But you know what I mean? Like nothing wrong with just putting it on your little iPod and let it go.
I remember we had so we have a music podcast too, me and Mutlu. It's not with that Dave was on, not with Mike, because Mike does not talk about music well. But we had JB from August Burns Red, a metal band, on, and we were talking about merch because they're so merch heavy, like especially metal bands. How much do you think about merch? How much do you think about like album cover? How like the visual aesthetics of everything? How important is that to you?
I would put album cover and merch in different categories. Like the album cover, I think a lot about. This one actually, Dave took the photo of this album cover. Yeah, basically because of the pandemic, we didn't have like for the last 2 records, we had like a photo shoot. I hired this guy Dustin, whatever. He came out to LA or Philly, and we did like 2 days worth of whole different ideas, and then you put it together as a cover. This time, because of the pandemic, we didn't have any of that. So I had asked Dave, because he was always taking pictures at the studios. Every studio we're at, he's taking pictures with his film camera. And he sent me all the pictures he had taken. And then that was a picture of when we started, me, Dave, and Anthony. We went upstate New York, and we were like demoing some songs, ideas that I had, and like some bits and pieces of things, and just having fun and jamming. And we were staying in this house like 100 feet from the studio, which is, it's like our dream, you know what I mean? Like to wake up 9 a.m, have a coffee, and walk 100 feet and be creative. And that's basically what the picture was like us walking to the studio in the snow, holding a coffee and a guitar, and he took a picture. And then, so Dominic, who does the artwork with us, he kind of saw that photo in the Dropbox and like mocked it up as the cover of the new album, because we didn't have any relevant photos because we were all inside our house for a year. So merch, though, I feel like, I like to come up with ideas for merch. I feel like a lot of the ideas I come up with, they're not like things that somebody would actually, like maybe like 17 people, like Dominic, our tech, he has all these little notebooks, and on tour he's always drawing like our road cases, so he can know like how to pack the truck for the new guy that's coming on the. He draws these little pictures of everything of my, and I was one year I was like, dude, that's the T-shirt, just all those little drawings on a T-shirt, and it like makes total sense when like your whole life is based around like 11 guys. But then you see it on a T-shirt, and they make like 12,000 of them. You're like, I don't think anyone's gonna buy these, by the way. I mean, I want to have cool. We do think about cool merch, but not in the way I think that we think about. Right, we have an occasional rain umbrella, but not in the way we think about the album art. I mean, the album art is like, you should be able to sit down, put the record on, and look through the thing, and kind of get lost in the booklet or the pictures or even the grain of the picture or whatever,
I see.
Who the hell does when you're playing live and there's like, the like screensaver explodey stuff behind you? This is not you specific, but any band where they're doing like plops of color and like balls and shit. Like, do you guys do that? Who does that?
Usually a lighting director.
A lighting guy. Okay.
But I mean, to be fair, what you're talking about is actually more of a video guy. But we have a lighting guy. He's been our lighting guy for almost 10 years. Ben, Chicago guy, big Bulls guy. But
Silver Scene.
But you know what I mean? Those like the like stuff happening behind you, just that's like sort of amorphous.
Yeah. Lights.
Is it lights? It's more like a screensaver. But like when I saw like Wilco or like St. Vincent, wall. There's like just stuff like happening.
Wall. Yeah.
Yes, a video wall of.
Yeah, that's a lighting guy, video guy. Yeah.
Bubbles and shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you ever be like, that sucked? I don't like that one.
Not with Ben. Ben's pretty much as good as it gets. But you can definitely seen things where you're like, that was weird, But I don't know. A lot of the bands we play festivals with, they have that pretty dialed in.
Okay. If I named what I would say are probably, I was thinking about it, since I'm now becoming a music guy over the course of this podcast. If I named my like probably 4 other, if I'm counting you guys in my top 5, which I do genuinely, not because you're here, but because I genuinely listen to your shit all the time. Would you like that, or would you think that you'd be like, that would make me upset?
That we're top 5 to Music Guy Mike?
No, if I said the other 4.
Do you want to know his other? If you're one of the top 5, do you want to know the other 4?
Sure, if you want to tell us, yeah.
Okay. So I already named one. One is Wilco. Is that okay?
I love Wilco. Kidding me?
Okay.
Love Wilco.
Cool. Okay, great. Wilco. I saw them at the Palladium 2 nights ago. 3
nights ago. My friend John was there. Our band.
John was there.
Oh, nice.
First Wilco show.
Love it. I've seen them a ton of times. Easily the band.
Did you see John? Did you see John?
Yeah, a ton of guys named John. I'm sure I saw so many men named John. And then I would say probably First Aid Kit. How about that?
Oh yeah, we played with them. Great singers.
Okay, sick. All right, so far so good. Then I would say D'Angelo.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
love that stuff.
Great. And then I would say Dr. Dog.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wait, so here's my question. So did you see Dr. Dog, and did you go to see Dr. Dog?
I didn't. They were here on my birthday, and I played basketball instead.
Weren't they just in LA like 2 nights ago? That was their last show, right?
That
was your birthday.
2 nights ago, yeah. I played basketball instead of seeing Dr. Dog because I played basketball Tuesday nights. Okay. That's what I opted for.
They would actually appreciate that because they're sort of hoopers themselves.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Nice.
Yeah, they're Philly, and
yeah,
they're they're an institution in Philadelphia. They're like amazing.
I think so are you guys though.
I think maybe in some ways,
cool.
Probably different, a little bit of a different thing. But those guys, I saw them play. They used to be this band called Raccoon, like 2004. Scott and Toby and Scott. This guy's like,
doing it a long time.
Pretty doing it a long time.
Yeah, I saw you guys at the Greek a few years ago out here.
Oh yeah,
nice.
And I mean to see you at the Shrine when you come here in I think February. So
yeah, I can't wait.
I'll ask many more dumb questions then if I see you guys, and I'll look out for John at any other concert.
Yeah. Do you get tired of people bringing up Bruce Springsteen when they talk about your music?
I don't think so.
No, not at all. That's cool.
I mean, it's, I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess it just depends on the context. Like, I understand why. I mean, it's kind of like Music Guy Mike. It's like not everybody. It's like you don't have to make like our new album or whatever. It's like there's other people. There's people who are doing work for something. You know what I mean? So it's like it might be easy for that. That's like a jumping off point. Like, oh, I have to write this article about this band, a new album. Like,
Well,
it's easy to listen.
contextualizes it for people.
Right. It's like it's easy to listen and think that like, oh, there's a heavy Springsteen thing. And I mean, I'll be the first to say, like, there's definitely things like records or like images from records and memories of his that we constantly look to as inspiration. Like that song "Old Skin" on our new record. It's like track 6, I think. Like, that's a song where wasn't really making sense to me, and then we had this one night where all of a sudden it kind of bust open and made a lot of sense as a song. And it was like you kind of saw like a glimmer of like the darkness on the edge of town sensation that you get when you listen to that record, which is like kind of dark and a lot of tension, but also like really rocking and like kind of, defiant, and like, and all you need is something like that, and you can like latch on to your own thing. So it'd be silly to say that. I mean, there's definitely, the way that guy made records in specifically the later 70s, like he was so open about the fact that he didn't really know what he was doing, and how he was just him and his friends basically in the studio learning how to like use the studio and write song and arrange songs as a band and make it feel like when they were on stage playing. Why can't the record sound like that? And that's what they were trying to do. And I feel like that's kind of where we're at a little bit, which is like, how do we make the record sound like as big and dynamic as it is when we're playing together? And so I think like a certain level of like knowledge of rock history is good, or having like somebody that you kind of can go back to as your
North Star almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I can't. No one's ever been able to explain this to me, and like for some reason, I do not like Bruce Springsteen, but I like so many bands that were obviously had inspiration from him. From you guys to the Killers to, I mentioned Gang of Youths to Gaslight Anthem. Like, I like all those bands a lot, but I don't like Springsteen, and I can't figure out what is missing from him that they have, if I'm being honest. Like, I get trolly about it sometimes. I'm like, he doesn't have any good songs. Like, and it drives people crazy, but I can't really figure out what those bands have, and he does not, for me personally. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, sometimes, it could be any number,
I think it says a lot. I'm trying. I think it says a lot about him that I think if you were to take Springsteen away, I think I may have just been able to appreciate Springsteen. I think if you were to throw Springsteen away and you were to throw all those bands down on a grid, you would maybe see some similarities, but they don't seem like the same band to me at all. Like they're all really different bands. And I guess for them to all be so obviously inspired in some way by him, but all be so different, I think probably says a lot about his music. In the same way, like Black Sabbath, that, like so many metal bands are inspired by Black Sabbath, but like you listen to Black Sabbath and you say, well, that doesn't really sound like that very much, maybe I just learned to appreciate Springsteen right now.
Do you ever think?
I'm sure there's songs. Maybe there's stuff you don't know that maybe.
Springsteen fans always say that. I know all. I worked in rock radio for 15 years. I know lots of Springsteen songs. It was my first concert, my second concert. I know it. It just doesn't. Maybe it just doesn't connect. Yeah. Maybe it's time in my life.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're doing music on stage, performing, or even just like in the studio, do you ever have like a brief or a long feeling like this is stupid? Like we are trying to say something, then why don't we just write it down instead of singing it? Do you ever think that?
I've definitely, I haven't really opened my eyes in like 14 years. You know what I mean? Like, because I feel like if I'm singing and then I open my eyes and start looking around the room, I start getting like very distracted and maybe a little self-conscious.
Sure.
And so I basically keep my eyes closed the whole show. So at the end of the show, they'll be like, did you guys see that one dude? Like he threw his baby into the air and then the other guy jumped away, caught the baby. And like, I'm like, I didn't see that actually because I missed everything because I had to kind of go inward to sing. But no, I think we, we're up there. We're just like, we're in it.
You're in it.
We're always in it. We're always in it.
We've certainly had bad shows, not many, but at least recently. But
actually, that's not even
it's
what I'm
funny
talking about. It's not even talking about like I love your shit. It's just the idea. Every time we have any musicians on, where I'm just like, it's weird. I think about this when I'm listening to music, whether it's or my friends are saying or something like that. And it's like I get why people play instruments and then there's rhythms to that, and I get why people write things down to then say them. But then when you put them together, it seems like we're doing this song and dance. I don't know. Every once in a while, it feels very strange to me.
Like who would be like, do you think Dennis Rodman was he kind of like, why am I putting this ball through the hoop? There's got to be an NBA guy like who's like that, right? Like, because you could say that about anybody. Like Larry Bird, like is about to dominate another fadeaway three, and then he's like, why even bother? Like,
for sure.
They go, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know.
What are we doing? I think that when I'm watching basketball, sometimes it's like, is this stupid? Do you think this is stupid?
Was Metta World Peace like that? Like, was he kind of just like, I don't know, maybe.
Larry Sanders, Bison Dele.
Mike, do you sort of mean it in the way like when I'm watching a musical, that's how I feel. Like when
I think Broadway. Musicals get like a name for that, where you're like all of a sudden you're breaking into song. Yeah. And I get why that's weird, but I think that it maybe is just as weird when people are just saying like, we're singing, we're about to sing this song that we wrote and they're performing it. It's just strange. I think obviously I think everything, I'm a comedy writer. Everything I do is fucking stupid, but because you inherently have to take it more seriously, I wonder if sometimes it just like hits you. But I think you said it. That's why you keep your eyes closed, because if you start to look around, then you're like, wait, is this dumb? Is this all stupid? But I like it. I enjoy it still. So you shouldn't feel that way. I should feel that way.
On that note, I actually wanted to ask you guys this. Do you ever like have a moment where you're like, I don't know if I actually like basketball anymore? Because you've just been forced to watch so many fucking games and talk about it so much. I mean, personally, I love it, but it's an escape for me, and it's become sort of like a vocation. I mean, not sort of. It's become a vocation for you guys, and I just wonder if it sucks any of the joy out of it ever.
No, I love it. I love basketball. I love watching basketball, and it doesn't. And I think Sixers basketball, sometimes I feel that like existential. Like, what are we doing here? And I think I voice that on the podcast almost every episode.
Love that.
But I really love basketball. I love watching it. I love playing it. I love like analyzing it and seeing what people do. And I think it's the beautiful game. Fuck soccer.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
agree.
So my life is even more than Mike, in that my life is sports radio and sports media. So what I would say is I like the sports just the same, but I don't like my favorite teams as much as I used to. Like I don't like the concept. I know this sounds weird. I've said on the pod before, the concepts of winning and losing are no longer as like essential to me as like everyone doing what they're supposed to do. Like I just think about everything in a different way now. Like why isn't the owner doing this? Why isn't the general manager doing this? Why is the player doing this? And I don't have the same, I wish I did, but I don't have the same like joy when they win, and I don't have the same crushing feeling when they lose, which I miss. I wish they did. Like I work at WFAN in New York now, and Evan Roberts is one of our afternoon hosts, and he fucking loves like his teams. So much so, he's a Brooklyn Nets fan. He has season tickets, but he bought New York Knicks season tickets too, just to go to the games. So he owns season tickets for 2 NBA franchises. and he could go for free. He could get a media pass, any of that. He loves it in a way that like I wish I still could. So I love watching basketball, but I do like watching basketball when it's not the Sixers sometimes more than watching the Sixers because of like that, like whatever that feeling is. Like I think I just like the sport better than I used to, but I don't, the idea of being a fan is different to me now than it used to be.
I mean, I think I definitely understand what you mean. I mean, even with music, like I'm not this like voracious 15-year-old or even like 25-year-old consumer of music that I was, and that maybe I wish I was in some way, you know, but like, it's not like it's all business or anything, but it's like, you know, it's like, yeah, it's like you watch a game and you don't see the guy like stealing the ball. You see like, oh, like they should have traded that guy when they had the choice 6 months ago and gotten these two guys, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, I mean, the same thing with music, like listening to records, like you listen production or songwriting or whatever in a different way, because you're just deeper in it. You know, it's like a different, there's some things. And when you find those things that you don't expect, a new record or something you never heard before that you can't stop playing. It's like, those are special moments because they don't really, for me at least, they don't happen in the same way they did, you know, when I was younger.
That album is, you know, we're talking, it's 11 p.m. Eastern time. It'll be out at midnight. Are you really happy with it? Like, are you happy with what it sounds like? Are you?
Yeah, totally. I'm more excited for this thing to come out than I've ever been for any of our records, for sure.
Really? Why?
I don't know. I think sure, we had more time or not even more time. Like, I'm really proud of it. Like, just as a record and as the way we made it, like with the way we made it as a band in a certain way, and kind of the attention that the songs got and how they're more concise than normal. I think it's like flows better than our other albums. And there's a lot of the songs I just have really great memories of recording them as a band or how they kind of came about. And then obviously with the pandemic, it's just the idea. I just wanted to like put something out into the world that we were all psyched on, and like to give people something to look forward to and enjoy, you know, and like, I kind of like, we got enough time on it to feel like we could do everything that we're interested in musically for this record. And I love it. I mean, I've never really said that before. I think that's Dave talking too, because he's always getting on my case about, you know, it should be fun. You know what I mean? And I think I was always like, how can it be fun when, you know, but I think this time I learned that it was way more fun this time, even though there was times where it wasn't fun, but the general thing was way more enjoyable just because I think we liked the songs more. I don't know what it was. It was just a more enjoyable thing.
That's cool, man. Good for you. I'm happy that you're excited.
Yeah.
I
love it too.
Yeah. Ask me tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When
ask me again in 5 minutes.
You have a distinct singing voice that I like, that I also, when I get high and do the dishes, imitate loudly. Is that upsetting to you that I do that, or is that?
Well, I haven't heard it yet.
It's not good, but I try to do it. Do you like?
Yeah, I mean,
like, because I listen to we put out a podcast, a fucking hour podcast twice a week, and so I'm imagining that people do impressions of me saying stupid shit, which is their right, and also like react to me being like, well, fuck you, man, like to the thing I'm saying sometimes.
Yeah.
So like I sometimes will think about that as I'm talking, being like, what is someone receiving this say? Musically, genuinely, no one's saying like fuck you to your music as they're listening to it a lot, but I am definitely like trying to impersonate you as I'm singing. Do you like that? Is that cool? Or is that like, just listen, man. Just like fucking listen.
No, dude, that's, I mean, that's, you know, of course I love that.
Okay, cool. Sweet.
We don't really take ourselves all that seriously. I mean, if it wasn't obvious yet. I mean, of course, like, you know, I can't wait to hear it. Have me over for dinner.
Yeah.
Cool.
chop some onions. You'll do the dishes.
Yeah, you'll get olive oil all over the vinyl.
All over your dishes.
I gotta say, as musicians, I mean this a lot. Having when we were doing the other pod and having musicians on, and even through COVID, through our stop down when we had people on, not just like the loss of like your livelihood, but like the loss of like a lot of the purpose of what you do in your life, you know. Like I feel like a lot of musicians love what they do. I get to love what I do. And when you do that, you find a lot of, you know, value in your work, a lot of personal value. And it's just like, it went away in a lot of ways. And when I mean this so genuinely, when I see like your tour, I was looking at your tour dates and I saw a bunch of like sold out ones, you know, one at the Met and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, fucking A, they're on tour. You know, like they have a record out and they're on tour. And I'm just so happy for you that like, that's back. You know, it's complicated. It's not as easy as it was.
No, for sure.
Yeah, but it's back. And like there were moments, I'm sure, in there where you're like, I don't think this is ever coming back. You know,
there are definitely moments where it was just like, it's over. I'm gonna start roasting coffee beans. Like, you know, what's next? For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely, and speaking about the record and the response to it, like when Adam sent me the final masters, I definitely just like cried because of what you were just talking about, Spike, how, you know, the pandemic felt so endless. I mean, you know, we're still in it, but like the quarantine and all felt so endless, and the record just we kept working on it and kept working on it. And there definitely was just like many months where I was like, we're never going to go back on tour. The record's never going to be done. You know, I'm just going to be like living, you know, here forever with, you know, seeing the same 5 people. So when the record was actually done, I was like, oh my God, it's finished. You know, this is an achievement, you know, let alone the quality of it, which obviously I was ecstatic about. But yeah.
I mean, you get so used to the remote stuff. We did so much stuff remotely. Like I would just send stuff to Dave and he could have time to do bass and guitar and keyboards in his house and everyone in the band. Like, but it wasn't as clear as it is now. Like, it just feels like you're endlessly kind of like just killing time or something. You know, you're like working on this thing and it's like, hey Dave, put some bass on this because we're in another lockdown. So, you know, it's like 5 weeks and then he sends me back a million things. And then a week later, I'm like, put bass on this. He's like, you sent me that song 4 weeks ago. I already put bass on it. You know, it's like, you know, it's like that was like that for a year, basically, year and a half. And, you know, and for tour, I mean, that's also for a band where like songs come alive, you know, like where songs become a new kind of thing. So to be able to not have that side of it was also just disheartening. Like, you're just like, I just want to like, you know, explode and like take these things out and like let them evolve. And of course there's the whole thing with the crew, you know, our crew guys, like they love that too. You know, they love like what they do, like, and they're so good at it. And it's just, I mean, no one had anything.
I feel like you know how Gmail has those automated responses, and I feel like your automated responses to Dave is just put bass on this, just like just click it.
Yeah,
I already did.
Yeah, basically.
I already fucking did.
Yeah,
I already did many times.
Basically.
Well,
gladly.
We the album is really, really, really good, and I hope you're like incredibly. You said you were, but like you should be incredibly proud of it, because I think it's like, for an already like really good band, it was such an awesome leap, you know, in just, I think, like album mastery, you know, like you made like an album that will last, and you should be really proud of it. And I think people are gonna love it. I don't know what the reviews are like. I'm sure there are some out there already, but I'm convinced that people will love this record. You know,
and it was good on first listen, which sometimes takes
Mike.
me some time to get there. But I liked it right away. And it sounds like you guys. Tell me if I'm doing a bad job talking about it, but it sounds like you guys, and it also sounds different. And it didn't sound like, they're doing this crazy other thing. It still felt like an evolution of the stuff you guys do, which I love. But like taking it to a different place.
Before you leave, we do this thing on the pod. We don't do it a ton anymore, but it's called Jigsaw, and it's basically like a horrible would you rather. And we like to give our guests it. And somebody's mentioned in the comments. I spent 2 hours at urgent care tonight, and I never explained why. Do you want to hear, or do we want to save it for the next pod?
Just do the jigsaw with them, and then we'll let these guys celebrate their record and get drunk, and then we can.
And then we'll talk about urgent care. Okay. Here is the jigsaw. Both of you have to answer, and it is this question is for the rest of your life. So understand that the answer that you're giving is for the rest of your life. Adam, this is probably like the first time you've ever heard it, and also anything that you can do to like circumvent the choice that you made is not valid. Like you have to do what the thing says. So for the rest of your life, your choice A, every meal you eat is cereal, but instead of using any form of milk or eating it dry, you have to eat it with warm orange juice. And then option B is to everybody that you know, you're the guy who has BO.
Definitely the orange juice.
Really?
Yeah.
Every meal?
Oh, yeah. Every meal?
Every
What
meal.
about
Cereal with
what about,
warm
like,
orange
scurvy and
juice?
stuff? Are we worried about that?
No sickness. That's cheating. Yeah. Oh, God, I don't know, man.
Can't be BO guy.
I mean,
Yeah, BO is it's a deal breaker.
And these guys are hanging out in small rooms playing.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to be.
Yeah,
that's the whole room, man.
yeah, it's like, hey,
One of you
like,
guys
oh,
already is BO guy. I got news for you. You guys are in a band. There's
It's like-
already one guy that's BO guy. It has to
It's like,
be.
yo, how you getting over to this shop? And I'll be like, yo, I'll drive. And everyone's like, no,
Nah.
it's all good. No, it's all good. I'll walk. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
like
too cold
that.
to
I
turn
don't
the
know.
windows down.
I feel like the orange. I feel like I get into a zone with the orange juice where I get like the right amount of orange
the right
juice.
amount of pulp.
And do I get to choose? Is it different cereal every day?
Yeah, you can pick your cereal.
All right. Well, if I can pick my cereal, then yeah, I'm definitely orange.
I mean,
juice
I love
guy.
That's the right
I love
answer.
cereal. But by the way, the orangutan chicken jigsaw the other day,
Oh, yes.
I laughed so hard that I was like, the tears were coming down my face. My wife was just like, "What the fuck is going on?" I was like, "Yeah, I can't possibly even begin to explain this."
That was the
Yeah.
and
Love
the
that.
options were fight a chicken every time you get in your car, or once a year fight an orangutan with a sword.
And the orangutan has the
has
sword,
the sword.
which was complicated. But I don't believe that orangutan would know how to wield the sword.
Yeah.
And I think the chicken would be more annoying every day.
That's skilled in the art of the blade.
No, he
Yeah.
doesn't. He's not even close.
Well, we appreciate you guys. Congratulations on the
Very
album.
much.
Appreciate
All
you
the
guys.
the packages
you.
and stuff are on your website for the vinyl and the t-shirts. And are you're selling on cassette too? Did somebody mention that to me that you have it on cassette?
Yeah, we
or-
did cassette. Yeah, cassette CD.
Awesome.
Yeah, there's different packaging. Like if you have the cassette, it's actually different liner notes than the album, than the vinyl.
Yeah.
And the vinyl in Europe is a different gatefold. So it's cool. There's like 7 different versions of the record, which is we've had a lot. Our friend Dominic, who's our tech on stage. Everyone knows Dom. He does our super high quality podcast. He's helped me with the last 2 album art, and he gets so deep
He's a guru.
with references and with everything, and he has the best ideas. And so we have him to thank for how cool the art on this one turned out. And
Well,
Dave, of course, because Dave took the cover photo and the gatefold. So
I'm a big
We
cassette
should,
guy.
I'd be remiss if we didn't mention that one of the Met shows still has some
Yeah.
tickets available. So
Yes.
yeah, hey, go to our website. You get some tickets, and
Those
Or
shows
not.
aren't until next year, right? Are they February? Is that when the Met shows are? I can't even remember.
no,
February
January
or late January.
27th.
Okay.
Because I know that actually the Sixers play the Lakers on the 27th, and that's the
There
day
you
of
go.
one of
Sick.
the Met shows.
There you go. I want one of Adam's shitty idea merch somethings.
Yeah,
that no one would
yeah.
buy. I want to be one of those 12 guys.
Yeah, put them.
oh yeah, no, I think we have some good stuff this time. Yeah, we should do
Okay.
we should do a basketball jersey.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
People
You know?
would buy that. Yeah.
All right. Well, good luck, guys.
Thank
Love
you.
it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for
Very
having us.
happy to
Super
talk
fun.
to you.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank
Super
you,
fun.
fellas.
Love the pod. Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
He doesn't really love the pod. What a
He loves
lie.
it. He can't get enough
Amazing
of
lie.
it.
Yeah.
I can't
what a-
believe he was eating grapes.
Yeah.
That's great. What validation for me. And one of my favorite musicians was eating grapes during this podcast. I can have as many eggs as I want right now. Fork them together.
Can I tell you the best part is he thought he was sneaking the grapes because you can't hear somebody eat the grapes, but every time he reached it,
The ruffling,
like,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, totally.
It was so noisy.
All right, do the
That's
fucking urgent care story. I'm getting texts about the urgent care story. Just
all
people
I
wanna
want to
know.
do, this is a warning to people. So 3 or 4 days ago, have you ever had the thing where in your ear, you're like, there's water in my ear, I can't get it out or whatever. Like,
Sure.
like, okay. So what I'll normally do is like, I'll get there's these drops you can get. You put like 5 drops in there, you lay your head one way. It basically like burns through it or whatever, and then gets rid of it. So this happened. What's today? Today's Thursday. This must have been this weekend. And I started the drops and like, I couldn't get rid of it. And I could not hear like out of my left ear. Everything was muffled. Like if I would cover my left ear, everything would sound normal. If I would cover my right ear, it would sound like that. I don't know what that sounds like, but and I was using the drops so much that it was like going into like the back of my throat, the drops, because it's like peroxide or something. And today, finally at work, and it was making me dizzy. When you can't hear out of like one ear, it was making me dizzy. I was at the gym. I was dizzy. I was at this thing for Mark Chernoff today, and I couldn't hear anybody because they had masks on, and I couldn't fucking read their lips. And finally, I was in a meeting with my boss at like 5 o'clock, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to urgent care. And I left, and I drove to urgent care, and I sat there for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and they finally came in. And this is disgusting, and I'm sorry. And my wife is texting me not to tell this story. But he got this big syringe, filled it with warm water, and just like shot it into my ear like 5 different times. And it's like earwax buildup that's in your ear canal. And I don't use like Q-tips, which I guess you're not supposed to do because it pushes it in there. But it finally it came out, and it was disgusting. But
there was something in there.
Yeah, so it was earwax, that the buildup in my ear canal, and it was like it didn't like come out. And he was like, hey, when you're in the shower, he's like, shoot hot water in your ears. He was like, people don't do that because you shouldn't use Q-tips. But when it finally came out, it was like I was a new man. Everything was so loud, and like I thanked him so much. He's a doctor; he was doing his job, and so I thanked him. So
that happened to my college roommate, my buddy Corey, who. I've talked about him singing the song when we were in the backseat of the car on the way to Wegmans the first week of college when other people sang the N-word and I didn't, and we stayed friends. Same guy had earwax in his ears, and like he got it taken out, and it was the first time when he was like 19 or 20 or something, and was like a new man. It was like looking at people like, do you always talk that loud? Like it really like fucked him up for a while.
Yep.
He was like, I gotta get my earwax taken out. It became a really life-changing experience for him.
Yeah, I got in the car and I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. And for a second, do you know how sometimes do you use AirPods?
Sometimes.
Okay. Every once in a while, like your AirPods aren't totally synced with each other.
Okay.
Like one's right ahead of the other one. That's what everything sounded like. Like my left ear was ahead of my right ear, but it was so wild. Everything was all I wanted to do was listen to things. It was so good. I felt so good coming home. I thought there was something wrong with me. I was like, what if there's this is one thing I thought, what if there's a bone growing into my ear? And that's what it is.
I would have thought like a bug nestled in there.
Right.
And now it's living and fucking shit up in my ear.
Oh,
but now you can listen, and you can listen to the new album from the War on Drugs. I don't live here anymore. It was great. I really did. I do feel great getting it ahead of time. That was cool.
It's neat, isn't
and
it?
I enjoyed listening to it. And I love those guys. They're one of my favorite bands, and they're cool to talk to. I'm a big fan.
Yeah. Thank you to those guys. It is funny. Like Dave is a big Ricky guy, and just like I want everyone in Camp War on Drugs to know, I did not say come on Thursday. I said we should have the guys on, and it ended up being Thursday. So I know the album comes out tonight, and they could have been anywhere, and they were here. But but we really appreciate it. And the album is really, really good. I was nervous that it wasn't going to be good, but it's because, I don't want to get the new album and then have to have them on and talk about it, but it's fucking great. It's a great record. So, all right. Also, the Sixers played tonight. And then we'll talk to you this weekend when they play again. Are you down with TTP?
We're always going to be there talking about it when the Sixers are playing. And I am down with TTP, and you do know Lick Face.
There you go.
But I'm right